Today is Wednesday, and you know what that means. We got some hot takes burning holes in our pocket.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday sponsor is FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, it is Wednesday and something we've been running on here for the last couple weeks. Humpday Hot Takes. 2 more hot takes to provide for you this week. We'll give our reasons why we're going to defend them and how likely they are to actually occur. My first one here, with the reemergence of Hollywood Smothers into the NC State offense, I am predicting that Hollywood will finish with more total touchdowns than Kendrick Raphael and Jordan Waters combined by the end of the season. Now, right now, Jordan Waters only has 2 rushing touchdowns that were both in the first game of the season and 1 receiving touchdown from Clemson. Kendrick Raphael has 3 rushing touchdowns. That's 6 altogether. Hollywood only has 1 rush and 1 receiving, so 2. I'm projecting that Hollywood Smothers is going to have that big of an impact in the last 4 games. He will surpass the both of them combined.
I'm not sure I'm rocking with you on that one, Grayson. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's scolding hot here. Only because if Hollywood Smothers was a big 6 foot, 6'2", 230-pound guy, I'd be like, oh yeah, for sure. With what he has, because he'd also be your short yardage back at that time. Waters kind of has to be your guy, or at least not has to be. Let me not say that. He is your guy in terms of who this team goes to in short yardage.
Is he though?
Situation. Right or wrong, he is. He when he's healthy, he's the guy that they're like, we need a yard, put him in.
Second question, yard. Should he be?
I plead the 5th.
Okay.
I'm going to take a 5th plea on that one. No, but seriously, I do think that, I don't think we have a back that's quite powerful enough to be a short yardage specialist at this point. But with that being said, that's a take there. That's a take because, boy, I like Hollywood a lot. I believe in Hollywood a lot. I mean, he's at 2 right now, so he'd have to score 4 more to tie him.
Yes.
5 more to beat him. And here's the thing. I believe he has 5 touchdowns in him. I do. I honestly do. My only problem is that also relies on Kendrick Raphael and Waters not getting into the zone again. And Raphael is a guy that he's, in the words of Boss Man D-Lo, he missed it too slippery because he's going to find a way. You think to yourself oh, we got Kendrick Raphael lined up. And he's like, no, you don't. No, you don't actually. So I can normally rock with you on your hot takes, Grayson. This one's a bridge too far for me, partner. I can't go with you on this one.
I think based on the Hollywood usage against Cal and how I'm predicting that will be a lot more moving forward, I think he has at least 2 touchdowns in him against Stanford. And then from there, you only have so many more to go. So I think he's going to hit the ground running literally and figuratively against Stanford. I think he scores twice, and he's going to end up passing Waters and Raphael by the end of the season. Kenton, Humpday Hot Take. What do you got for us?
I want to leave the field and go to the court for just a moment.
It's that time of year.
The NC State men's basketball team will secure themselves not just a bye, but a double bye in next year's ACC tournament. They'll be one of the top 4 teams. You heard it here first, folks. Book it.
Okay, I like that. And I think out of ACC Media Day, I believe the voters picked them 9th to finish in the league. 9th to 4th is quite the big jump, or possibly higher than 4th. That is a pretty big jump. And I think definitively, when you're talking about the teams that are possibly more talented or projected to be better than NC State, I think for sure I'd give you the 2 blue schools, as hard as that is to say, but I mean, we're talking basketball here. I think Virginia's an interesting one. Tony Bennett departs. What is Virginia going to look like this year? Don't quite know. Wake Forest is getting the typical Wake Forest love where all of a sudden people just think it's going to go differently, even though there's a history of it not going differently. Not quite sure. I think Pittsburgh is going to be decent. Okay, I like this take, actually. NC State finishing at least fourth. Tell me that wouldn't get the folks riled up around Raleigh for basketball again.
Absolutely. I think that this team has all the makings. The only thing that I question about them, you got a lot of transfers. How cohesive can your team get? And the beauty of it is they have a lot of older guys as well. Because they had a lot of young guys with this gauntlet of a schedule. I say, oh yeah, them boys they're gonna pack in the season by January after some tough defeats. Because I think they have some uphill climbs in front of them. Luckily, those uphill climbs are not in conference. Luckily, those games against these top 15, 10, these battles for Atlantis, all doesn't affect majorly, at least, whether or not you get that double bye. I think that this team shows up and shows out. I think that now Coach Keats has the latitude in the room to not only say, yeah, I'm your coach, I'm the guy. He can also say, wait a minute now. How many of y'all got to a Final Four before me? Anybody? Anybody in the room? Oh, okay. So I think it behooves all of you to listen to what I'm saying, to buy in to what I'm saying, because the proof is in the pudding. When you buy in, we win. Do everything that I ask you the exact way that's asked to be done, and we'll get some wins. And I think that Coach Keats is going to get it done this year.
Your basketball tips off, and I think now under 2 weeks. Prime Time with the Pack is on Friday. That's a very exciting preseason event. I understand that they had the NIL celebration for NC State basketball last evening on Tuesday. It's that time of year, and I think I'm so intrigued to see the swagger from Coach Keats this year because we know how he likes to dress. He typically always has it on with the custom ice cream stuff or the red blazers or the Gucci shoes. I can't wait to see what he rolls out this year. But then you look on the court. Yes, this is relatively a brand new team. You do bring back very important pieces to that team, but there's going to have to be a very obvious period of cohesion at some point. Are they going to be their best version of themselves right out of the gate? Certainly not. So how long is it going to take for them to gel and mesh well on the court? We're going to have to find out. But certainly a lot of basketball talk is on the way for us. Our Thursday episode will be primarily focused on basketball. I want to get off one more hot take, and it's going to lead us directly into our next segment. So I won't talk about it now, but I'm going to go ahead and fire it off. My second Humpday hot take. I think NC State football finishes the rest of the season 4-0. I think they win every single game left on the schedule. I'll tell you why after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are just right for that role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They help you hire professionals that you simply cannot find anywhere else. Even those that are not actively searching for a new job, but may be open to just the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So quite frankly, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within just 24 hours. You can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, middle portion of our Wednesday show. I just gave you a little bit of a hot take to chew on here. Now we're going to get into it. Kent and I are going to give you our preview for the final 4 games of the season. Obviously, we're going to get way more in-depth in each week of these games in particular, but we're just going to give you our blanket 4-game prediction for the final 4 games for NC State football. NC State obviously is on a bye this week. They host Stanford next week in Raleigh. It's in Carter Finley. It's homecoming, and I think the energy from winning on the road at Cal will be compounded with the energy refreshment of a bye week. The overall reason I believe that NC State will go 4-0, to me, it's starting to smell a little bit like 2023. And I don't know if it's just because it's getting a little cooler outside. We're working down into late October. It is fall. I don't know what it is, but it's that same gut feeling that told me that we were going to beat Cal. It's the same gut feeling that kind of inspired the reverse psychology last year. I don't know what it is, but I think this team is going to be fired up down the stretch here. You've already heard them talking about it post-game at Cal, but they're going to handle business in the first game out of the bye, and they're going to beat the Stanford Cardinal at home.
You see me and Grayson before the game at any tailgate. You didn't see us. We weren't there. Now, moving forward, because we are not getting into acting the Fulio off the Julio, I don't know if my co-host is sober right now. I want to believe you, Grayson. I want to believe you so desperately. I do. Nothing would make me happier than for you to be right. There are just two impediments to this scenario that you've laid out. Because I got NC State going 2-2, possibly 3-1 down the stretch. There are two things, however, that stand in their way. Duke's defense and really three things. Duke's defense and Haynes King health. Last thing, Tony Gibson's and this isn't, I get it. It's hard to do. Tony Gibson doesn't like double teaming receivers. And I think Alec Ayomenor is a guy that if you leave him single covered all night, Stanford's not done. They're going to say, hey, that number 3 kid doesn't travel. Stay away from him. Go to the other side. Let's see what you can do against guys that are a little younger, a little less experienced. But I still think they could beat Stanford without throwing a lot of doubles Ayomenor's way. And that Duke defense is all over the place. They are swarming. They are aggressive. I'll tell you what, Manny Diaz is making the most of his second time around in the head coaching ranks here. But I will tell you this. Do I think it's impossible? No. I would say that this 4-0 run, if it is to happen, we're 5-0 run since you started off with a win here. This 5-0 run is actually more reasonable and feasible than it was last year. As insane as that is to say, this one is just much more manageable. I just don't think we have the team to manage it. That's my whole thing there.
Yeah, and I want to make something else clear here too. This is not me being a Dave defender, so to speak. We've had several criticisms of Coach Dorn over the course of the season, and until some of those things change, those will remain. So this is not a blind optimism in the coaching or really just the team in general. This is just a gut feeling for me. And I think when you're looking at the rest of the schedule, including who we play and also who they play, I think like Kenton's point there, it's a lot more feasible than some may realize. I think we just talked about Stanford. They're coming off getting their brains beat in 4 consecutive games. They lost at Clemson by a lot. They lost to Virginia Tech by a lot, Notre Dame by a lot, and they got blown out against SMU last weekend by 30 points. They have to play Wake Forest this weekend before coming to us all the way across the country. The season for Stanford has unraveled a little bit, and I think that's a prime opportunity for NC State to seize the opportunity and pummel them at home during homecoming. Now, taking a couple steps forward, looking at Duke, and I'm sure Duke fans will probably get on me for saying this, I've been very underwhelmed with Duke this year. In fact, I don't really think they've played anybody. Their wins, they beat Elon by 23, okay. They won on the road against Northwestern. Now, Duke won the game. You give credit where credit is due. Duke should not have won this game. Northwestern blew it. Some of the play calling late in that game was abysmal, and it ended up costing them the game. Now, okay, yes, Duke won. It's a Big Ten team. I got it. Great, fine. UConn was the win after that. UConn's been hapless as well. UConn just lost a game at home to Wake Forest. Thank you for Justin Jolie. We appreciate it. But UConn football is by no means a powerhouse in college football.
But we can't use a home loss to Wake Forest as like you're not good, because we too have a home loss to Wake Forest.
Listen, I said it then and I'll still say it now. Wake Forest is not a good football team. And that means, yes, NC State then lost to a bad football team. That's true. Yeah. It is true. But the point remains, Wake Forest is not all that great. So moving forward here, then Duke beats Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State is one of the worst teams that I've laid eyes on this year. Then they beat the Dirty Foot Club by 1 point. That's because the Dirty Foot Club completely vomited all over themselves and found a way to lose that game. They had a 20-0 lead and blew it in the fourth quarter. That is more of a Carolina loss than it is a Duke win, in my opinion, okay? You go on the road and lose at Georgia Tech. That's probably the best team they've played all year. And Georgia Tech is still kind of figuring out who they are. So that kind of is what it is. I think Georgia Tech is the best team they've played. It was relatively close. It was a 10-point loss on the road. Fine. Then they beat Florida State last Friday night without even having to play offense pretty much. And that's because Florida State is a train wreck. Florida State is even worse on offense than Duke is, okay? Now, Duke has to play SMU this weekend. I think SMU wins that game. Then Duke has to go down to Miami. I think Miami will beat them. So that's a 2-game losing streak. And then Duke has to come see us in Raleigh. And at that point, hopefully, we're on a 2-game win streak and we're looking for revenge from last year. I think that's a good spot for NC State to reach up and surprise Duke.
That team better have as many hard feelings as Grayson and I do. And I will leave it at that.
Yes.
Duke used to be a very neutral team for me until last year. So, happy hunting, boys. Happy hunting.
The Duke offense this year has been very underwhelming. And I think Duke fans would even tell you that. Malik Murphy, although they hyped him up, hasn't really been that good. He's really struggled so far, and I'm sure he'll continue to get better. But, I mean, last week against Florida State, he completed 50% of his passes for 70 total passing yards. Not very good. I think NC State has the capability to knock off Duke. Then you go on the road against Georgia Tech. Now, if NC State, I think, is going to lose a game, I think it'll be this one. It's on the road. It's a Thursday night. Georgia Tech has played some good football. They played some questionable football. Not sure what we're going to get in this game, but I think this will be the toughest game for NC State. But I'll say this. If NC State can win at Cal, I think they can win at Georgia Tech. So that's 3-0 for me. And then you have the Dirty Foot Club. William, our old friend William over there in Chapel Hill, he is just waiting for retirement to come bless him because
that's a weekend at Bernie situation if I ever seen it. They propping that body up.
He's completely checked out. And so is the team. So is their fan base. They're ready for basketball. And we say that every year as a joke. It's maybe never been more true than it currently is for your friends over there in Chapel Hill. They do not care what happens the rest of the way for football. Yes, the game is on the road over in Chapel Hill. You're going to have to bring it. It's a rivalry game. You throw out the record books whenever these occur. But I love NC State to go down the road and officially put William into retirement. He already has one foot out the door. Go ahead and sweep his other foot out. You're the better football team. Go over there, take care of business, and get it over with. I think we can finish 4-0. I truly do.
Send that man back to ESPN. Send them back. Send them back. Let it be now. Hey, listen. As this point of the season, as this has been, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, your season can't be about beating Carolina. I agree. That shouldn't be the premise of your season, but it's an important part of it, right? To me, beating Carolina in the season is like having a bathroom in your home, okay? Is the bathroom the only thing that your house needs? No. If you came home one day and your house was all bathroom, you'd be creeped out. What just happened? Why am I living in a giant shower? But if you came home and didn't have anywhere to do the functions that your body needs to do and wash up, you'd be very disappointed by that. You'd be, I don't know about y'all, but I shower 3 times a day, at minimum 2, most days 3 to 4. Why is there no, where's the thing? Where do I put my wash rags here? I'm telling you, I'm never going to be upset at beating the daylights out of the Dirty Foot Club. I don't give a damn how the season's going. If we are 1-11, I'm not saying it's a great season, but I will say, you know what? It's a terrible season. A very sad moment for us. At least we beat the dog piss out of the Dirty Foot Club.
Yeah. So several folks are probably saying I'm crazy. They're saying I'm delusional. They're saying there's no way that this team, based on what we've seen, can finish 4-0. I'll leave you with this. Folks said the same thing about last year's team. Last year's team had a harder trip to manage, and they got it done. It's just a gut feeling. And it's not just a wild belief that we're back and all of a sudden everything is sunshine and roses. It's not that. But something is telling me that this team, you're going to see them revitalize, and they're going to bring it in these last 4 weeks. Every game's winnable. Every game is losable. And I think they have what it takes to make all 4 winnable.
I don't disagree. I very much so believe that, I have said it all season long, and I stand by it. Every game is about the countness of this team. every single, and now more so than ever. There again, like I said earlier, there were teams early in this season. You play your best game, they play their best. You might lose that game. These teams that are laid out in front of you going forward, if you play your best game, I don't see a lot of losses. I don't see a lot.
Speaking of basketball season, a lot of people are waiting for basketball season. We're going to expedite the process. Now, basketball season is right around the corner. Coming up next, we're going to begin to talk about NC State men's basketball with our top players to watch for this upcoming season. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Wednesday sponsor is FanDuel. NFL fans, you can win big this season on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you're placing all of your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just your first $5 bet. It's going to be yet another exciting, electric slate of college football coming up this weekend. If you have any leans that you have on your mind, waste no more time and head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Last couple of minutes here of our Wednesday show. It's that time of year. We're going to start to dip our toe in some NC State men's basketball with our top players that we're most excited to watch for this upcoming season. Now, Thursday's episode will be primarily basketball focused. We're going to give you a little bit of a lead in to round out here on Wednesday. Kenton, give me 2 players that you are most excited to watch for this upcoming season.
I mean, I know that this is going to seem like a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm a big guy. I'm here for the bigs. I need to see how Brandon Huntley Hatfield and Ben Middlebrooks are playing this thing in 2024, 2025. Don't get me wrong. Yes, guard play is important. Yes, guard play is especially late in the season, it's what makes certain things shake and go and all that good stuff. But I'm just going to tell you, NC State has shown us time and time again, when the bigs are good, that's when we're at our best. Can you tell me the last time we made the tournament and didn't have a notable big on the team? Obviously, the last few years has been DJ Burns, but even before that, do you remember the last time NC State got their one shining moment thing during the NCAA tournament? The BJ Anya hook shot against LSU. That is, I know that's a little bit of a drawback, but seriously, the bigs are going to be the guys that make it happen for this team, and I'm very excited to see how those 2 bigs run it, because, I mean, objectively speaking, they're probably going to be asked to carry the lion's share of the minutes in the center and power forward position. So I want to see how they handle it.
Yeah, the front court, I think, is going to have a massive heat lamp on it for NC State basketball fans this year. Obviously, there is no DJ Burns. It's going to be very weird to not see DJ Burns out on the floor. I know we only had him for 2 years, but the impact that guy made immediately, it feels like we had him for like 4 or 5. And that puts a lot of pressure, so to speak, on Brandon Huntley Hatfield and Ben Middlebrooks, because also you don't have Mo Diarra. Mo Diarra moves on. He became a rebounding machine at the end of last season. That really fueled our run in March there. I think rebounding for this team this year, it's a little bit of a question mark. And I know Brandon Huntley Hatfield was a double-double machine at Louisville, routinely putting out at least 10 boards a game. You're going to have to get that here at NC State, because if not, I think you do run into some struggles rebounding the basketball. And we saw time and time again last year in the middle parts of the regular season, when you give teams so many extra chances to knock down a shot or make the extra pass, more often than not, it's going to happen. And so the big men in Middlebrooks and Brandon Huntley Hatfield this year, they are tasked with holding down the paint literally and physically. They're going to have to be a massive piece to NC State's success this year if you do want to get back to the tournament. And so I think Brandon Huntley Hatfield is probably one of the most anticipated players for a lot of State fans coming into this season. Transfer coming over from Louisville. Like I mentioned, he's been in the ACC for a couple of years. He knows the ropes, and he's been routinely producing in this league. So I would say that's probably the best pickup, in my opinion. But Kenton, since you went with the bigs, I'll go with the guards. My first player I'm most excited to see this season is Michael O'Connell. And of course, we all know the legend that he also became in the postseason for the Pac last year. He hits the shot to tie the game against Virginia in the ACC semis. We go on to win the entire ACC tournament. That shot, the shot that started it all, as it's currently
and ended Tony Bennett's career.
And ended the career of Tony Bennett. What a magical moment that will not be forgotten anytime soon for all of us here in Raleigh. But last season, something that we harped a lot about on this show, whenever Michael O'Connell was on the court, better basketball as a whole was being played. He's just a really good facilitator of the basketball. And at times last year, when he's not on the court, everything got out of sorts. It kind of really fell upon DJ Horne to just score the basketball, because if it wasn't him, what was going to happen? We didn't have an answer for that. So Michael O'Connell, I think, has a much larger role on this team because he has to be that point guard. He has to be that quarterback for this team this year. And I think another year of experience in the Keats system, I can't wait to see what Michael O'Connell brings to the table here in 2024 and 2025. My second player that I'm excited to watch is Marcus Hill. He's another transfer guard joining us from Bowling Green. Everybody's like, what the heck is Bowling Green? It's a smaller school in the MAC conference. Marcus Hill was averaging over 20 points in that league per game last year. And with the departure of DJ Horne from this squad, a paint touch guard was arguably the number one thing that this team had to go out and get. I think you might have found one in Marcus Hill. I don't particularly think he's going to light it up from downtown, but like I mentioned, what he does do, he can get in the lane and make magic happen. He can hit the mid-range. He can take you to the rack. He can really do it all. I think that makes Marcus Hill dangerous on a team like this one. And some of the similar guards you've seen over the Keats tenure, like a DJ Horne or possibly even a Torin Dorn, are so good at the mid-range. And I think that's where Marcus Hill really thrives, and that brings a lot to the table for this offense. So my two are Michael O'Connell and Marcus Hill. Let us know what your two are. Drop those down in the comment box. We cannot wait to read them and talk a lot more about NC State basketball on Thursday. That'll do it for us here on Wednesday. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you think about our Hump Day Hot Takes. Tell us how you think NC State football is going to finish the final 4 games of the season. 4-0, 0-4, or anywhere in between. Let us know what you think in the comments. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow on Thursday for some more NC State basketball talk. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.